a feeling of like noticing that I'm pushing the button and that something is changing, something's being recorded. Kind of crazy to think about, but this video, to put it simply, is me sharing my lessons this year. It's a hot as night in Sydney tonight, and I thought there's no better way to spend your Saturday night just before you fly off to New Zealand at 11 p.m. recording a video sharing my thoughts on 2023. What did I learn today? What did I learn this year, I mean? Well, this year probably has been one of the craziest years for me. Well, one of the years of the biggest shifts. I wouldn't necessarily say like the most insane, but I would say like I've had the most shifts and changes, and changes in my state of consciousness, changes in my state of how I experience life. I feel a lot happier and a lot more conscious. And I think part of that is a lot of these practices that I'm doing, a lot of this meditation I'm doing, but then also just things have kind of started to work themselves out, just naturally, effortlessly, just working themselves out. So let's just dive into it. Number one, this year I learned letting go of a lot of fears and anxieties that I wasn't really aware of, attachments, and the need to be successful or competent. So if I have to talk about like what are my biggest attachments and what are my biggest things that I feel cause fears, cause anxieties, I would say they revolve around neediness or needing validation or approval from women, needing to be successful with women, and live up to some dream reality that maybe I was sold in the media many years ago, or programmed to believe. And so there's a sense of neediness that was there that is kind of now resolved, which is great. And then a need as well in the same area to be successful, to be successful at work, to be competent, to achieve things, to be this achiever, this person that does well, which is attachment to a sense of perfectionism, wanting to be very good, and then being afraid of messing up, being afraid of failing, being afraid of that self-image being degraded, which is the issue with perfectionism. It's the issue with fear. It's the issue of the need to be successful. If you need or feel like you need to be successful, you're attached to being successful, it's going to consequently impact you in that way, which isn't great. The next thing is kind of goes hand in hand with the last topic, which is self-love, self-kindness, letting go of criticalness, and self-judgment to self and others. I feel like there are many times when, because I would deal with a conflict with somebody, I would fall into a victim kind of mindset. I would feel vindicated by the other person. I'd feel hurt by the other person. And that consequently would result in me basically feeling like a victim or blaming others, rather than realizing, well, I have the power to do things for myself. I have the power to take accountability for everything that happens in my life, including the reactions that I have when other people act in ways that I don't really like. I have the full responsibility and accountability to not be a victim, but take accountability for my thoughts and feelings, because I have the power to see those thoughts and feelings. I have the power to react differently or react how I would like to react. And that's been really key for me, I think, this year, which is gaining that emotional maturity. And it's funny when you think about it, because it's like, oh, I'm 26, right? And then part of you is like, wow, you only just like gained emotional maturity at 26. Like, you're pretty old now, dude. And what I would say to that mindset is that's coming from this like perfectionism mindset or need to be competent, need to be successful, need to not admit your failures, not admit, or not even failures, not admit your shortcomings or the things that you could improve on. It's also a thing where people have this self-image of themselves, and it causes them to delude themselves or not see areas they can improve on. And so the process of radical honesty is seeing every little aspect of yourself, even the parts that you don't want to look at, but those are necessary to look at. And so when I look at, and another thing to add here, another kind of like realization, I suppose that would even help, maybe help other people that are listening right now, is to know that there's a sense that other people have this sense where they don't necessarily admit their shortcomings or weaknesses. It's kind of like they're going through this world and they're like, no, everything's fine, I'm good. And actually what's happening internally is they might feel like their reality is crumbling around them, or they might feel a lot of anxiety, they might feel a lot of negative emotions. But it might be hidden from them, that it might be deep under the surface, or they might not even want to look at it. I was chatting with a friend today, actually, and I was talking about how this year, like, I feel like I've alleviated a lot of suffering. And he said, oh, like, what are you suffering about? Like, and then he said, well, I wouldn't call, if something bad happened, I wouldn't call it suffering. Like, I wouldn't say I'm suffering unless, like, things are going really, really badly. That's what I would consider suffering. And that was kind of interesting to me, like the recognition, the maybe even lack of awareness or lack of recognition there. But it's also, on the other hand, it's actually kind of even maybe helpful in the sense that when you don't recognize your suffering, and this is a lot of people, you just don't suffer as much at first until you realize, well, I'm actually suffering. And that's one of the actual core pillars of what they teach in Buddhism, is to start to like recognize that you're suffering all the time, all these micro sufferings, even just the little things like, oh, I have to clean the dishes, and you feel like agitation about that. That's actually suffering. That's you like contracting internally, and we do that all the time, thousands of times a day. And so like actually just resolving, because how could I explain that I'm suffering less? Well, there's just these micro things that happen all the time that are kind of going away now. And because you aren't suffering and contracting like through the day, like in thousands of little tiny decisions, you're just happier. You don't need to get anything externally. It's just that giving up of those small little micro contractions is just, boom, gone, which is really nice. And so recognizing your suffering is really key. And then as you can overcome even the fears that come around the recognition that, wow, there's like actually lots of stuff here, that puts you in a really good place as they let go. And then that fear of, that macro fear of needing to hold up a self-image of that you're like competent or you good, that you and I think as I record this video, like I can even actively feel a sense of me trying to maybe retain a sense of competency or qualify or explain. And then there's a part of me that's not doing it. It's funny. So let's see, I wrote a few notes down here. So I'm not reading off the script or anything, but I'm just chatting to the camera. The next thing is becoming more authentic this year, I think. Becoming more authentic and honest and expressing myself, expressing what I want, expressing how I feel. Once again, I think this is something I can still improve on. I think it's something that is a process and it's a journey. And a lot of it relies on, well, a lot of it's really influenced by you letting go of that ego part of you that's needing to retain that sense of the sense of something, like the sense of a somebody. Because if you're trying to retain your sense of a somebody to somebody else, and you're really attached to that image that you've created, however that image is, anything that isn't in that image is going to kind of hurt you. And so I think for me, anything that would cause me like embarrassment or shame or like lacking in some way, maybe even like lacking in social skills, lacking in competency at work, lacking in appearing like liked or approved of by other people, even like the fear of, like if people see me as anxious, like if I'm anxious, I try to hide that I'm anxious. Meanwhile, people might be more open about being anxious. Like if anxiety is just arising, they're just kind of like owning it. Or what's even more common I've noticed is people, when they're anxious, they don't even like fully realize it was just under the surface. But for me, like the awareness has always been there, which means that anxiety can create anxiety and can loop. Ooh, shit. Which is nice. That's kind of going away as well. But yeah, there was that shame aspect of like, oh, I don't want other people to see that I'm anxious. And then, yeah, next point. Setting stronger boundaries with other people, which is, I think, really important. And then letting go of the need to please others or get their approval, because that's just an illusion that I've created and fabricated in my mind. Like, you don't know what other people... You don't know what they're thinking, you don't know what their composition of like what they think of you is, but I've created like little mental images of, oh, this person thinks of me this way in my mind around like other people. So it's like your ego is trying to retain some sense of, oh, is this person going to approve of me? Is this person going to like me? And it's made all these like bubbles of fabrications, which they're not real. You can be present in the moment. And if you're present in the moment, that shit goes away. That's the most important thing. Radical self-honesty. First step, being radically honest with yourself. I feel like this year I've become way more radically honest with myself. I think that's really, I think as soon as you hit the honesty thing, it's like you go up like a lot. Like stuff really starts to change. Because you're not like trying to prop yourself up to some glamorous image you've created in your mind. You're just like accepting reality for what it is. rather than what you want it to be, which is in itself what the whole point of the meditation, spiritual Buddhist path is trying to teach you, is accept reality for what it is, not what you want it to be. And the meditation part is the noticing part, where you start to notice, and when you start to notice, you start to accept.
Clears the dust from the heart or from the mind. It's sort of an interchangeable definition, but it clears the dust from our consciousness, you could say. Just this clearing process, so that gradually over time, we make these incremental steps on our personal development journey, on our spiritual journey, but over time we slowly start to see what is revealed underneath, which, different traditions have their own sort of exact details about, but in the yoga tradition it's said that what's underneath is, the soul is what makes us, that unique spark of consciousness that's, so much further beyond just this mind, just this body that I'm in right now, these temporary things, this stuff that I own, And so Cheto Darpana Marjanam, it's like a spiritual shower. Do you guys feel that after kirtan? It's like, so something to meditate on. And for our last kirtan tonight, we're going to go a little deeper into the Krishna mantra, if that's okay with everyone.
So just accepting everything that happens, accepting life as it happens. And when you can accept, you can start to be okay with everything. You can start to be okay with everything happening, which allows you to love everything that's happening. And start to see opportunities. Every little thing that's hurt you, everything that's been painful, all the things that made you really upset. You can start to see them as opportunities. These little opportunities that really start to teach you a lesson. And I feel like as I've started to see everything as opportunities and lessons, the negative things that happen aren't so bad anymore. You aren't running away from them. You're kind of seeing them as important stepping stones, challenges that you want almost, because it's growing you, it's expanding you, it's teaching you something. And I think that's a beautiful thing. And as you can do that, you can start to love more. Any contraction, any resistance to anybody else, to life, or to yourself is stopping you from loving. And I think the thing that makes us feel good is that feeling of love, because it creates joy. And so when we can love, you can love. And so when you can perceive love, and I say perceive because it's already here, but this whole process is about letting go of everything that's stopping you from seeing it. And so I think when you can start to perceive it, life starts to open up for you. And I think life this year has really opened up for me in that area. It's created a lot of joy, a lot of acceptance for everything that comes my way. It's made me really appreciate every moment and being really grateful for every moment as well. And you don't need to get anything to be appreciative. In fact, there's an abundance that's already here. Wherever you are, wherever I am, I feel there's an abundance. And when you can feel the abundance of what is, it makes you grateful for everything that you do have. And ultimately, this abundance is coming from this place of consciousness, coming through this consciousness, this lens of me looking out into this world. And everything's arising in this world that I can perceive and that I can look at, that I can explore, that I can go and have fun and enjoy, and even do things I don't want to do. But there's a certain beauty in that too. And so I think there's so much joy, there's so much beauty.
When I look inside and see that I am nothing, that is wisdom. When I look outside and see that I am everything, that's love. And between these two, my life flows.
And so this year I've started to really see that, and I'm really excited for the next few years to come. I'm really excited for 2024. I want to do some travel. I want to go to Thailand. I want to continue practicing Muay Thai and training. I want to continue writing. There's something I want to pursue as well in business and moving into a different venture and seeing how I can best serve and uplift other people and how I can alleviate some of the suffering in this world. Because I feel like I've learned a lot in this area, and that's an area I want to share in. So creating more content like this, and also thinking of more innovative, creative ways I can share.
世界不限于自我存在的主义，